All right, tonight we start with what is shaping up to be a horrible, bad 5 days for Robert Mueller and the Office of Special Counsel. This out-of-control witch hunt just suffered two massive major blows. Now, on Friday, and what was the single biggest beatdown I have ever seen in my life, a federal judge utterly rebuked the special counsel and his investigation, slamming its political motivations and calling out the scope for being way out of bounds and way beyond their mandate. Now, the judge's name is T.S. Ellis III. He told a top Mueller prosecutor, listen to this, watch, you don't really care about Mr. Manafort's bank fraud. Well, the government does. What you really care about is what information Mr. Manafort can give you that would reflect on Mr. Trump or lead to his prosecution or his impeachment or whatever. That's what you're really interested in. Wow. And then Ellis continued, none of that information has anything to do with links or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the campaign of Donald Trump. So I don't see what relation this indictment has with anything the special prosecutor is authorized to investigate, because this goes back to 2005. The judge also quoted, quote, it looks to me instead that what is happening is that this investigation was underway. It had something, the special prosecutor took it, got indictments, and then in a time-honored practice, which I'm fully familiar with, it exists largely in the drug area. If you get somebody in a conspiracy and get something against them, well, then you can tighten the screws and they will begin to provide information in what you're really interested in. Now, Ellis finished his epic beatdown by saying, well, what we don't want in this country is we don't want anyone with unfettered power. Now, this dressing down wasn't the only legal setback for Team Mueller. On Saturday, yet another federal judge denied the special counsel's request for a delay in its case against Russian election troll farms. And meanwhile, a series of new polls are showing that Mueller's witch hunt is becoming more and more unpopular with you, the American people, all while President Trump's poll numbers continue to climb to his highest levels ever. Now, late Friday, we also learned a former member of Mueller's team of investigators, there she is, FBI lovebird Lisa Page. She has resigned in disgrace months after her viciously anti-Trump texts revealed the extreme bias at some of the highest levels of the FBI. And Page wasn't alone in resigning. Another prominent deep state FBI official, longtime Comey ally, James A. Baker, he also resigned late on Friday. So is the deep state now starting to crack? Look, we're learning even more positive news about the Inspector General Michael Horowitz's review of Hillary Clinton's email case. Now, his testimony before Congress has now been postponed, but for an interesting reason. After reports show he's finding new leads in this ongoing investigation. We're going to have all of this and break it all down tonight with Sarah Carter, Greg Jarrett, attorney David Schoen in just a minute. But first, other news. Iran, that deal weighs in the balance tonight. Remember, 3 years ago, the Obama administration signed off on what they promised would make the world a better, safer place. In reality, the Iranian nuclear deal sent boatloads of cash, $150 billion worth, to a regime actively plotting to destroy the United States and our best ally, Israel, all while funding terrorism and proxy wars all around the world. Death to America, death to Israel. Now, all told, we sent $1.7 billion in your cash to Iran, then unfroze about $150 billion in assets and loosened a series of sanctions. What did America get in return? Oh, a promise from the Muellers chanting death to America that the rogue Islamic theocracy would temporarily halt its nuclear weapons program. And, of course, we knew the Muellers of Iran were liars. And last week, they were proven liars by the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, when he unveiled Iran's secret plans to further their nuclear ambitions, including a project aimed at creating 5 warheads, each containing a 10-kiloton yield. Now, given these damning recent developments, President Trump is now set to decide the fate of this agreement tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. Let us be clear. The mullahs of Iran are not good people. They've killed Americans in Iraq. They fought proxy wars. They want death to Israel and death to America. You cannot trust people like this. This agreement does not sufficiently check their nuclear weapons programs. But none of that seems to matter to former Secretary of State John Kerry, because this deal was the shining jewel of his time in the Obama State Department. And he is reportedly pulling out all the stops to save this horrific deal, which puts the world in danger, including meeting with Iran's foreign minister, really, and other foreign officials from Germany and France and the EU who are involved in the agreement. This kind of shadow diplomacy, it undermines the United States on the world stage. It undermines our commander-in-chief, and it needs to stop. Now, the president tweeted this, quote, "The U.S. does not need John Kerry's possibly illegal shadow diplomacy on the very badly negotiated Iran deal. He was the one that created this mess in the first place." Kerry's spokesman responded in part, quote, "Secretary Kerry stays in touch with his former counterparts around the world, just like every previous Secretary of State." Of course, but this reveals yet what? Another standard in our two-tier justice system. Let me remind you, remember the former acting Attorney General, Sally Yates. She told Congress that General Michael Flynn was being investigated in part over Logan Act violations after he spoke with a Russian ambassador, his soon-to-be counterpart, during President Trump's transition. I repeat, during the transition, Flynn was preparing to take over as National Security Advisor. But there's no Logan Act violation for John Kerry? Okay, where are the agents in the FBI and the DOJ breaking down John Kerry's door? Another blatant example of a two-tier justice system, sadly, in this country today. Now, we will have full analysis of this incredibly flawed Iran deal and John Kerry's unauthorized actions. We'll ask the question tonight, did John Kerry violate the law? All right, but first, the obstruction and stonewalling from our Department of Justice has now reached a fever pitch. Thousands upon thousands of documents that have been requested and subpoenaed by the House Judiciary Committee, by the House Oversight Committee, by the House Intel Committee are still being slow-walked and withheld or massively redacted in what is a clear effort to impair the constitutional right and duty of Congress to check the DOJ and the executive branch. Now, the Intel Committee Chairman, Devin Nunes, who will join us in a second, he is now actively encouraging fellow lawmakers to hold the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, in contempt of Congress. Earlier today, Sessions responded. Let's take a look.
The Department of Justice has written him a letter and responded as appropriate to him. The request he's made is one that the intelligence communities and Department of Justice feels is not grantable. We've explained that we'd be willing to talk to him about it before, the details of which I couldn't discuss.
Mr. Attorney General, I say this with all respect. Where is your urgency? You need to do your job. This has gone on way too long. These are legitimate, important requests. You are not impervious, nor the DOJ impervious, to the rule of law and our federal system of co-equal branches of power and checks and balances. This is within their congressional authority, constitutional authority. And the DOJ is clearly stonewalling to prevent further embarrassment given their pathetic track record in Hillary Clinton's email case, the rampant potential, we know, FISA abuses, the ongoing witch hunt into Trump-Russia collusion, which never happened. Now, if the Attorney General does not take significant measures to find urgency and speed up the delivery of these requested for months and even years of unredacted documents, then it is time for Sessions, Rosenstein, and anyone else who is obstructing Congress's investigation to be held in contempt and face the serious legal consequences associated with it. In other words, Mr. Attorney General, Mr. Deputy Attorney General, it's time to decide. Are you part of the swamp? Are you part of the deep state? Or are you going to fix our justice system and let Congress do their job? This country has a constitution. Again, separation of powers, co-equal branches of government. Congress has a constitutional role in oversight. Stop obstructing and slow-walking them. Now let's turn to what might be the most insane display of left-wing lunacy in a very long time. Now, President Trump has picked Gina Haspel to lead the CIA Now, over the weekend, she actually offered to withdraw her name from consideration. A bad idea. She has faced a firestorm of criticism, only from Democrats and the mainstream media because they're corrupt. But get this, she's being criticized for being too tough on terrorists. I actually like people that are tough on terrorists. Take a look.
In 2002, she ran a secret CIA prison for suspected terrorists in Thailand that used harsh interrogation tactics, including waterboarding, sleep deprivation, even squeezing detainees into coffins.
You have questions from the left and the right on her role in the enhanced interrogation techniques, her role in potentially destroying the videotapes of the torture, and she's going to have a tough hearing on Wednesday.
At this moment, Donald Trump is effectively asking the U.S. Senate to promote torture because Trump is asking the Senate to promote a U.S. official involved in torture to run the CIA, nominating Gina Haspel, Mike Pompeo's deputy, for the job.
Excuse me, harsh? Do you know what, Gitmo? You, the taxpayers, paid for a soccer field for those involved in engaging and killing Americans. And we took care of every dietary concern. And we treated, there were only 3 people that were waterboarded. Now, President Trump rightly is not backing down to this ridiculous criticism. He reportedly has pushed Haspel to stay the course. I say the same thing tonight. Haspel's confirmation hearing will take place this week, and rightfully so. I met Gina Haspel once. She is a patriot. She loves her country. She has worked hard to protect the American people. She more than deserves this job, and I'll take it a step further. We should all thank God for the people like Gina Haspel and the important work they did after 9/11 to keep this country safe and save American lives. Only 3 people ever waterboarded. One of them, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, another former high-ranking CIA official, remember Jose Rodriguez, on this very show said, no waterboarding, we wouldn't have found Osama bin Laden's courier, and we wouldn't have gotten bin Laden. Thank you, Gina Haspel, for being a hero. And finally tonight, some more good news from the Trump administration, this time from the First Lady. Amazing day today. Earlier, Melania Trump unveiled her brand-new initiative. It's called Be Best. Now, the program focuses on America's children, the hard issues that they face on a daily basis. Now, the 3 pillars of the plan include physical, mental well-being, social media use, and ramifications for opioid abuse. Here's what the First Lady had to say earlier today.
I feel strongly that as adults, we can and should be best at educating our children about the importance of a healthy and balanced life. So today, I'm very excited to announce Be Best, an awareness campaign dedicated to the most valuable and fragile among us, our children.
It's amazing. Melania Trump, she speaks 5 languages. English is her 5th language. An amazing initiative, and she deserves a lot of credit. Now, we'll bring you updates of the program over the next several months because right here on Hannity, we actually show the full picture of the Trump administration, like all the success that the media will never tell you about.